Hello everyone. Oh, I'm not wearing my rings. Hello everybody, I hope you're all doing well. Today we are going to be discussing all of my recent reads. I did this video I think a month or two ago, and it is time to discuss more. And I think now that I am back home and I am consuming a lot more books, we might be going back to monthly wrap-ups. I have read a lot. Let me count really quick. I have read 16 books in the last month and a half, and for me that is pretty swell. I'm very excited to talk to you guys about these books. I have read a lot of manga, I feel like, in these last couple months, and I'm having the time of my life reading manga. I used to read them a decent amount, but I kind of fell off of reading them, but I have started reading them a lot again, and I'm having such a good time. So the first series that I'm going to be talking about is Spy Family. I read volumes 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I didn't know that I had volumes 5 and 6. I swear I only had volumes 3 and 4. So I was reading these on my Kindle when I could have been reading them physically. I honestly don't remember too much about these. I've seen this as like a common thing that like they enjoyed like the first 4 volumes of the manga more than they have been enjoying the last few. And I feel like that stands true with me as well. I'm just gonna hold up volume 3 because I don't feel like holding them all up. I have been seeing people say that they have also been feeling the same way, so I'm glad I'm not alone in that. But like, I'm so sad. I'm still moderately enjoying it. We've kind of been following a few new perspectives of characters, which I like getting to see new characters, but I really miss Lloyd. Like, I feel like I haven't seen Lloyd in forever. I just miss hanging out with Lloyd and doing silly little missions with him, you know? And I'm missing Anya. And I do have to say though that Yor's brother kind of gives me the ick. He makes me uncomfortable. I'm planning on reading volumes 8 and 9, but I'm waiting in line on Libby. I hope kind of goes back up to the same level of enjoyment that I was feeling before. My allergies are literally so bad today. Looks like I'm crying. I'm not crying, I promise. Next, we have the March Besties in Books book club pick, which was Blood Like Magic by Liselle Sambury. I recently discovered that I can hold up my Kindle with a picture of the cover instead of just having to pop it up. And I do wrap-ups. I feel better like having something physically hold while I'm talking about it. It just makes it better. I started reading this in March and then I stopped reading it, and I actually pretty much speed read the whole thing the day before we had the live show discussing this book, so obviously I had to read it really fast. But it wasn't a bad experience speed reading it because it was just so easy to fly through, and I feel like I probably was going to end up reading it that way anyways. It did take me a minute to get fully into the story and fully invested, but once it got to that point, I could not put it down. One, because I literally could not, but another because I just wanted to learn everything. I just wanted to see what was going to happen. Like, the plot was getting so interesting. The magic system is really unique. I loved Foya as the main character. I loved her family. I loved the character dynamics between everybody. The only thing about this book though is I was really not expecting like sci-fi elements. Like, there was a chapter where she went to like an interview at this company and it was just all like a bunch of sci-fi electronic things, and I was like, where did you come from? And I'm not really like that much of a sci-fi girly, but the way that it was done in this book I felt really easy to follow, and I was kind of really interested in learning more about everything, and I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Blood Like Magic is following our main character Foya, and she has been waiting for her calling, which is basically like this trial that every witch is tasked with to get their powers, and if they fail they don't get magic. She ended up failing her calling, but she begs her ancestor to give her a second chance. But what the second chance is not something that she was expecting, so it throws her through a loop. There's just so much to this book, and I feel like there's something in it for everybody. So if you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend that you do because it is so good. Then we have another manga, which is Kaiju number 8 volume 1. I picked this up completely on a whim. I had heard about it and I was like, oh, this sounds good. I'm going to just save it to my want to read. And then I was scrolling through Libby one night, checked to see what manga they have, and this was one of the first ones that popped up, and I was like, oh, I should read it, and I enjoyed it. I feel like it has like elements and themes that I have seen a lot in other manga and anime. I don't know if I'm going to be picking up the rest of the volumes because right now I don't have access to any of them, but if they do become available at my library, I will probably pick them up because I'm curious to see where the story goes. And I really liked how it's following like an older main character. I feel like a lot of the manga that I have been reading, apart from Spy Family, is normally like teenagers, so it was cool to see like a middle-aged guy kind of having a midlife crisis because he's stuck in a job that he doesn't want, but he's given an opportunity to take the job that he really wants. So that was really cool. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, we have a novella, which I feel like I haven't read a novella in a long time. Killjoy by Holly Jackson. So this is a novella following the events before what happens in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I had it on hold on Libby and I completely forgot about, but I got the notification and I was like, oh, this sounds fun. So I decided to pick it up to kind of break up what I have been reading. I had a really, really good time with this. So this is basically like a murder mystery game that she's playing at one of her friends' houses. And it was cool to like see how the characters interacted, like just being teenagers basically, because the whole like preface and premise of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is solving murders. So it was nice to just see them be teenagers, you know? And it was really cool to see like what kind of led Pip to wanting to pursue the case that she did in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I didn't give it a rating because it was really short, so I didn't feel like it needed one. And then I followed that up with more manga, and I read the first 6 volumes of Jujutsu Kaisen. I can't believe I read 6 volumes. Kind of wild. It didn't even feel like I read 6 volumes. Like it feels like I literally read like 2 or 3. I have watched the anime. I'm pretty sure I only watched season 1. I don't know if there's any more seasons or if that's the only one, but I know I watched the first season. And I'm getting caught up to where I was in the anime and I'm really scared. So I'm having a great time with this. I've given all the volumes so far 4 out of 5 stars. Love the characters. Nanami and Gojo have my heart. There's just something about them that just like have captivated me completely, and I love them literally with my whole soul. The next one we have, I'm kind of really sad to talk about because it was kind of disappointing, and I hate saying that. Flowerheart by Catherine Bakewell. This is the Best Season Books April book pick, which I feel like was good because it has spring vibes. If you have seen my last 2 vlogs, I've talked about this book pretty much extensively. I was super excited to read this book, and my excitement did carry through during the beginning half, and like I was loving it so much. I was having like the time of my life. But then I put it down because I got sucked into Jujutsu Kaisen and a few other books, and when I picked it back up, the love wasn't really there anymore. Like I was still invested and really interested in what was going on, but the love I had didn't carry through, and I was so sad. Like I don't know what happened between when I put it down and when I picked it up again, but it just wasn't the same as it was before, and I'm so sad about that. I kind of wish that we got a little bit more character development, more into the magic system, more into the past, and a few other things that I can't say without spoiling. Even though like the story itself is like really high stakes, I felt like I was just chilling. I knew that everything was just gonna get resolved in the end, so it didn't really feel high stakes even though it was. Needless to say, I still did enjoy the book, just not as much as I was hoping to, and I feel like that's just because I had my expectations really high. I loved the vibes specifically because it had Studio Ghibli vibes, and I really loved it. The atmosphere was amazing. It's just, yeah, it's just missing something. Just a little something is missing. I said in my vlog that I gave this a 4 out of 5, but I think it's more of like a 3.5. We have another book that I was not expecting to love nearly as much as I did, and I did kind of pick this up also on a whim. It has kind of taken over my brain. Curious Beginning by Deanna Raybourn, and I am loving this series. Again, like it took a little bit to get into because this is set in the 1800s, so it is different than the books that I had been reading, but it was so nice to be back in this time period because it's also set in London, which the Infernal Devices is 1800s London, and so it was nice to just be back in this setting, even though it's not like the same as it was in Cassandra Clare's book. Just like the vibes were, it was so nice to be back here. And now that I have adjusted, I am like in love and I want to time travel so I could go back to this time period. This was like my before bed read. So before bed every night, it was a guarantee that I was reading at least a little bit of this, if not 2 chapters, like a chapter. Sometimes I would even stop in the middle because I would literally be falling asleep while I was reading, not because of the contents of the book, but because I was just tired. As it's set in the 1800s, the language that they used was different, so I was learning a bunch of new words, and it was so fun to just like learn it. And since I did read it on my Kindle, there's like a feature where you hold the word down and it like immediately gives you the definition of the word, and I felt like it helped keep me like engaged in the story because I was just like, oh, what is this? So the only thing that I have to say though is this is marketed as like a mystery type of novel, but they didn't really do much mystery investigating in this book. I didn't really get to that until like the halfway mark, but I did really enjoy like the filler that we got in between because we got to get kind of established with the characters, and there was like a random like circus thing, but I really loved that too. But once we did get to the mystery part, I was so invested. There were so many plot twists that honestly I probably wouldn't have guessed myself if the characters weren't so vocal about figuring it out and piecing everything together. Like, I wouldn't have been able to figure that out myself. And even the stuff that they figured out, I was like so shook. So it was done really well. I had a really good time with this book. I gave this a 4 out of 5. And spoiler alert, I have started book 2 and I'm already halfway through, and I think I'm enjoying it more than I enjoyed this one. Very happy to have started this series because it's just so good. That is all the books that I have read recently. I feel like we're gonna go back to monthly wrap-ups, and I'm very excited for that because maybe we could sprinkle in like a little TBR section as well. I'm not going to in this video because I don't have an established TBR right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you have read any of these books, what you guys have been reading recently, what you guys have read and loved, if there's anything you read and hated. I would love to know. If you made it to this point in the video, I love you so much. Comment down below the book stack emoji because I definitely have a big stack of books that I have read this month. All of my socials will be linked down below as always, as well as the besties and books information. I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye!